Well, we've been getting a lot of updates for the TVA. Marvel Studios established the TVA in the first season of Loki, and it appears its reach on the future of the MCU is going to be pretty wide. Let's talk about a couple of TVA details, including Loki Season 2, and how it seems like they're going to tie directly into Deadpool. Well, we've got a couple of new and pretty interesting reports surrounding the TVA. As many of you know, the TVA was introduced in Loki Season 1, and they are basically the time cops moderating the multiverse and clipping timelines that have diverged from the primary timeline. Their whole mission was thrown into the wind by the end of Loki Season 1, and with Loki Season 2 on the horizon and the TVA about to return, it appears they're going to play a pretty prominent role moving forward. Now we have two updates about the TVA, one sort of directly about when Loki Season 2 will return, and one with Deadpool. So let's talk about Loki returning first. Now recently, Mobius actor Owen Wilson was talking to Entertainment Tonight, and gave us a few details about when we're actually going to see Loki Season 2. As many of you know, Marvel Studios has been shaking up that release calendar, and Loki recently got a coming soon indicator, which really brought a feeling of dread on for a lot of fans, especially me. Now, in that interview with Entertainment Tonight, he made it pretty clear and said, "I think that's coming out end of summer or September," which honestly, given all the recent delays from Marvel Studios, is not that bad. Now, originally, it was supposed to drop in June, and at this point, I actually think that's probably when we're going to get Secret Invasion. This level of delay is really not a big deal, and honestly, such a short delay makes me feel like Marvel is pretty happy with the series, and it doesn't need that post-production work that we're hearing they're refocusing on, but it's more a utility function to stretch out the schedule and fill the space properly while the rest of the story is being built. Now, Wilson did say the series is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to get pretty wild, so I think we should be pretty excited for it. I suspect we will get a lot of cameos from various elements that are going to appear as we move forward in the MCU, and one of them I am starting to wonder about, based on some other reports, could be Deadpool. Now, if you remember correctly, a couple of months ago, Ryan Reynolds made some headlines when he seemingly interacted with the official Miss Minutes Twitter account. This caused the rumor mill and Reddit to go absolutely crazy with claims that the TVA would somehow factor into the upcoming Deadpool sequel. Now, we've been hearing various rumors about lots of characters appearing, and one of those has been Mobius, but none of this has been confirmed. And that brings us to our news. Now, as we always say, if it's not from Kevin Feige or Marvel Studios, we want to take it with a grain of salt. But this particular source has been hitting a lot of home runs, so I think we should pay attention to the story. Now, earlier this week on the Hot Mic podcast, Jeff Snyder once again chimed in and is seemingly backing the claims that they are adding both Owen Wilson and Tara Strong, who voices Miss Minutes, in the upcoming threequel. Now, he didn't provide any details about their roles, or more interestingly, the absence of Tom Hiddleston's Loki, which makes me wonder how the season pans out. But in the podcast, he seemed very confident that Owen Wilson would be part of this project, and considering his history with director Sean Levy, he worked with him on Night at the Museum and The Internship, they have a long working relationship. Snyder did go on to talk about the film's plot and how Hugh Jackman's Wolverine factors in, noting that Deadpool 3 is sort of Deadpool taking on the TVA, but he didn't take it any further. This here I think is a pretty big deal, because we've been told this is a road trip movie through the multiverse, and while they're on this road trip, they may very well have the TVA in pursuit the whole time. Considering the time-traveling hijinks at the end of Deadpool 2, this is really not a stretch at all, and appears to me that it could take on a really classic element of another movie from the 1980s. We compared this movie once before to Alice in Wonderland, but with the TVA in pursuit as they go from timeline to timeline, I am absolutely getting a Time Bandits vibe for this film. In that movie, a group of time-traveling thieves stole the map of the universe from God himself, using it to rob everybody from Napoleon to Robin Hood blind. This saw the divine being chasing them throughout the movie and finally catching up with them at the end. If you've never seen it, you have to check it out, but this totally feels like that's exactly what's going to be going on here. Now, I don't think the TVA will be the antagonist or even the villains of the movie. I think they'll just be trying to clean up the mess, and we might see some clues or even cameos in Loki Season 2 that give us some ideas of what's going to go down in the upcoming Deadpool Wolverine sequel. But we'll have to wait and see.